on the I'm Just a Girl podcast a few days ago, and she asked me a question at the end of the podcast. She asked me, she said, do I believe that we can save Black women? And my response was, no, I do not. As long as social media is around, the Black woman will be the bottom of the barrel. There is nowhere to go for her, because all we're doing on there is twerking, talking reckless, acting reckless, smoking, drinking, being thugs. Like, the Black woman on social media is shown in that light. It seems like maybe social media is pushing that and kind of drowning out the more, subtle ones that don't act that way, because at the end of the day, that's what we're portrayed as. That's what Black women are seen as. It's like, yeah, when you go in public, you may not see that, but online is where most of society is getting their information from. You know what I mean? You can see a Black girl in public, like, oh, she looks like a sweet girl, and you go to her TikTok and there's nothing but button, vagina everywhere. You know what I mean? You don't know, because of the likes and the thirst traps that are constantly out there. So when she asked me that, and I know you guys are always saying, well, other races this and other races that, and I'm like, I'm not talking about other races. I can't comment on other races because I'm not that race. Only race I can comment on is the one that I am, and that's Black. So y'all always like, oh, she hates Black women. No, I'm just giving you my opinion on, as a Black woman, what I see from other Black women. So again, do I think that there is a chance to save the Black woman? I do not.
I think you should add that little caveat. Is there a chance to save the Black woman online? All right, I can see why you could be kind of defeatist about that, because we don't control anyone else. And by that I mean there's no structure, there's no community, there's no like church, there's no shaming structure or entity that exists that can get people in mass sort of in line outside of celebrities. But celebrities really profit from this sort of dysfunction and this, this individual sort of think. We would have to regress, we would go back to a certain type of group think where we all can say, to be part of this group, you have to think and operate in this sort of terms. And we don't have anything like that. It's not the way we've kind of moved our society forward. But I think this is an important topic, so we'll dive right into it. But first, like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss new uploads. Still going strong, still trying to do 2 a day, still trying to pay this rent. Now, I had previous videos, and forgive me if they're out of order, because sometimes you try to batch content for when your life decides to life. But one of the things I was talking about was our image and how we're portrayed online, and how, while yes, we can understand the racism and the colorism and all the isms that attach to these things, but we can't, that doesn't really mitigate that we are doing these things online. We're perpetuating the stereotype. So even if someone does not understand, someone of another race doesn't understand, why do I feel these things? Because they haven't had a chance to be introspective and think about these things for themselves. All they need to do is open up their phone and say, oh, boom, validation. Oh, that's why I think like that. That's why these intrinsic this is why I prejudge these people, but here's the proof why it makes sense. We are responsible for our own image, how we behave, what we put out there. When we're out here doing nonsense, and this is genderless, right? This is before, not specifically what you're just talking. I don't want to put this and just say it's Black women. Black men out here doing things that sometimes are just flat out criminal. And then we're putting it out there. We're making the DA's job way easier. And we're further perpetuating how people view us. To bring it back to the women, like she was saying on, going on that podcast, you think this can be saved. And why I tend to agree with her, even though this is kind of defeatist, it's because you don't have control over what everyone or majority of everyone's believes makes sense and plans to do, or is fine engaging in that behavior. If you can get 90% on board and say, I'm not going to do this anymore, I'm not going to portray myself in this detrimental light, but the 10% are saying it's more for me, someone's got to do it. And especially when there's money at the end of that product. If I behave like this and get more eyes on it, then people will pay me for this. That's sort of one of the mechanisms of how it perpetuates. Wholesome content rarely gets the type of virality that, the other does. it's hard for someone to grow on these channels without you being sort of edgy, without sometimes you being flat out just defamatory. We like stuff like that. We like speculating what's going on in this person's life. We like the story times, the 26-part story times that get increasingly worse and worse with each one. We like hearing about how ghetto, how terrible all this is. That's part of it's a call it a human character flaw. So when we understand it and the algorithm understands us very well, we then put that forward and what do? We actually are those behaviors. We embody those behaviors. Everyone's left sort of saying like, yeah, they're like that. I've seen it. I've seen it. Now, the other part is when you put down your phone, you close the app. I think a lot of us understand that on the whole, this is not what the norm is. Most people are fine. Most people go about their business. They go to work. They're not out here spewing he's got to pay on my bills. Most people understand the economic sort of pressure of the times. Most people understand the student loan crisis. They understand their inability to get a house from this. They understand the struggle. They're in it, right? They understand it when they go grocery shopping. They understand it when they're trying to raise a kid on their own or together and they're still struggling. Most people, I think, are more reasonable than we give them credit for because we're on social media, because we're looking and seeing, wow, that's wild. This person said this. I like to look at it and highlight the hyperbole. I like to look at it and pay attention because sometimes there are new trends in terms of thinking that are sort of proliferating and saying, well, this is what people are thinking now. This is why you may encounter this. But on a whole, I think if you're doing your job right and you're cultivating and curating your circle, you're deciding what you want around you, you're going to see what you want around you. I'm not having conversation with women in my real life saying, dude's got to pay all the bills. Okay, yeah, it's interesting you think like that, right? I'm not here to disabuse you of that fact. I'm just going to say, cool, I know this would be our last meeting together. When people don't understand or people are unhealed and they're around you, and this is male or female, and some of their reason, I see the faults and the gaslighting in that sort of logic. How is everyone else's fault but their own? Okay, I know this is going to be our last meeting, our last time seeing each other until some of that changes. And sometimes you're not, exiling people, you're not cutting people off your life like it's a new year or something. You're simply moving people farther away from you. You give people a chance to be better. I'm not saying, hey, we'll never talk to you. I'll never see you or talk to you ever again. But hey, maybe for the time being, we need some distance. I think that's the adult way of looking at it. But if your life, and I get what she's saying, that people get their cues of life from social media and then therefore say that the rest of the world is like this. Well, that's just as, that has its faults, that has its errors because you're not organically seeing the world. You're seeing what is being curated for you by an algorithm created by people that more than likely don't have your best interests at heart. But she's absolutely right in the fact that this is what we, given the opportunity, given the platform, this is what we've chosen to create. This is what we've chosen to put forward. We are very much complicit in what the algorithm has to work with. Online, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram can be very boring, right? If you just people are showing their normal lives, it could be very boring, and that may be a lot healthier for us and our outcomes. But what our eyes flock to is the negativity. I was looking at a post from Kendra G, and she was talking about, she was in the comment section because one of the posts was about her show, and it was of her show, and it was negative. Someone was talking nonsense, and she was upset, saying, "I see that why you guys actually interacted with this video, but not the video of a couple that actually got married or is doing really well that met on her show. I see how you guys are." And people were said, "Girl, it's the algorithm. I didn't see that post. The algorithm pushed this one in front of me." And she was absolutely right. I don't follow Kendra G, but from time to time, the content will be put in front of my face. It's never the good stuff. It's never, hey, this person had a very reasonable take and wanted very reasonable things from their partner. No, it's always the outrageous. Guy, the last one I saw, a guy had 8 kids saying 2 sets of twins and this, and what he was looking for. Yeah, outrageous stuff. Because this is what we're putting out there in mass, and the algorithm is saying, I know what you want. I know what you want because I listen and I watch what you like. I see what your eyes stay on. I see how long you stay on videos and you like the negative. So part of us, if we're thinking, yo, there can't be a fix where I don't know how to fix, can Black women be saved? Yeah, part of this is, do we want to save them? That becomes a question. Do they want to be saved? That's a follow-up question. J. Cole had it right. You know, copyright reasons, we'll leave that alone. But listen, if you got something to add, let me know down in the comments. Of course, you see videos on your screen right now. That means I'm doing my job. Take a look at those videos. Let me know your thoughts about those in those videos. And of course, you have subscribed, listen to my voice. You made it to the end of the video. What are you doing? Join the train. We're just trying to pay the rent. I'll see you in the next one.